I believe we can now go back to Zeyna Hodder, who is live for us at a rally in Diyarbakir in Turkey, waiting for what is being billed as an historic announcement. Zeyna, I'll throw it to you right away.
Well, yes, the message from the imprisoned leader of the PKK calling for a ceasefire and calling on PKK fighters in Turkey to retreat, to withdraw. Now, and he's also saying that the time is for peace and the guns should fall silent. Now, we expected the imprisoned leader to call for a ceasefire, but what we also expected is more details. What exactly has been agreed with the Turkish government? We do not know what the Turkish government will give the Kurds in return. We do understand from reports, from unconfirmed reports, that the Turkish government will give the Kurds their rights. They will enshrine them in the constitution. But like I said, we still do not have details. So now Öcalan, a man really who was a symbol of the armed struggle of the Kurdish movement, now being seen as a peacemaker. What you see behind me really is an endorsement of the call of Öcalan. If this was a referendum, really, this is an overwhelming yes. You talk to people here, they'll tell you, yes, we want peace. We want this conflict to end. It has been bloody, it has been costly. And some say really that's one of the reasons why both sides decided to sit together to end this military stalemate. But definitely there's politics involved. The ruling party, if they get the Kurdish parties on their side, they will be able to amend the constitution to allow the prime minister to run for the presidency next year. There are also regional considerations, Divya, because the Turks are really worried about the growing strength of Kurds affiliated to the PKK along its borders with Syria.
Zeyna, I think you mentioned one of the key points is here, like while many people do agree with this, at the same time, there have been issues with the PKK fighters up in the mountains and several other splinter groups. How confident are they, as the Turkish government and the PKK, that they can rein in this and go with this peace process?
Well, yes, like you mentioned, there are splinter groups. There are military commanders. There's the military wing of the PKK in the Kandil Mountains. They have welcomed the call of Öcalan for peace. They say that they trust their leader. But at the same time, they express reservations. They said that we do not trust the Turkish government. How do we know this time if, for example, we agree to withdraw our fighters from Turkey, we will be guaranteed safe passage? We have to remember that this is not the first time both sides tried to reach some sort of a peace deal, but all believe that this time around there's a better chance.
I know you say that there aren't many details out there, but in the outset, what does it seem like the PKK would get out of this? Why would they agree to a peace deal now?
Well, like we mentioned, it's a costly war. I mean, some would say Öcalan is fighting for his freedom. If you read the slogans here and the placards, most of them say there will be no peace unless our imprisoned leader is freed from jail. There's a lot of politics here. We have to remember that the Kurdish issue is not just confined to Turkey. Yes, you have a big population of Kurds here, but the Kurds are spread into 4 different countries: Iraq, Iran, Syria, Turkey. For the Turkish government, they have a lot of benefits if they forge peace with the PKK. They neutralize it, and when they neutralize it, it means that the affiliates of the PKK in Iraq and Syria automatically are weakened. So there's a lot of benefits for the Turkish government. But for Kurds here, Kurds who we've been talking to, they'll say, yes, we are welcoming this move by our leader, but if we feel that this is a surrender, well, his influence over the organization may wane.
And finally, Zeyna, what is it that the Kurds would want out of this deal? You've spoken to the people on the ground. One of the things you mentioned is for Öcalan to be able to walk freely. But what do they get out of this, the public, not just politically?
Well, they want to be treated as equal citizens. They want rights. They want to be able to learn Kurdish in schools. They want to be able to be the constitution not to just say that Turks are citizens of this country. They want not to feel marginalized. They don't want activists to be thrown in jail for years. They believe that the Turkish government really has, in one way or the other, I'm not sure if this is the right word, but exploited anti-terrorism laws to clamp down on their movement. So this is a about rights. This is about feeling as equal citizens, and it is also about recognition. And I think this is what they got today. And for them, this is historic, and this is a victory. The Turkish government is talking to a man who, for years, they've called a terrorist. They are engaging somehow with an organization which is deemed a terrorist organization because they believe it is Öcalan who can actually bring peace. He is the man who can assert his authority on the Kurds, and it's really obvious when you just look around you. That's all they carry. It's Öcalan's picture, and it's the PKK flags everywhere here.
Zena, one of the issues at hand is the withdrawal of the organization's forces, the PKK's forces, from Turkish territory. Has that been discussed at all in the run-up to this? Is there an idea of how that is going to work?
Well, they were discussing the possibility of PKK fighters withdrawing to northern Iraq. There was a deal in the past, and at one point a number of Kurdish fighters were killed. So it's the guarantee that they're looking for, the safe passage, if the PKK fighters actually withdraw. At the end of the day, what we have seen really over the past few weeks, ever since it became public that the Turkish government is holding negotiations with Öcalan last October, this is really the first time they're admitting this. And another good sign really is the fact that the PKK decided to release Turkish hostages. They were being held for over a year in the Kandil Mountains. They released it. They released them. So that was seen as a goodwill gesture. So a lot of people are actually seeing positive steps towards the possibility of finding a peaceful resolution to this conflict. But to say that it's going to happen tomorrow, no, it's going to take a while. And they need to build trust, because if you talk to anybody here, they're still suspicious. They still believe that, you know, the Turkish government is doing this for their own political motives. Like I mentioned, the Prime Minister wants to run for the presidency. He's going to need to amend the constitution. He wants to give the role of the president more powers. He can't do that without the support of the Kurdish party, the Peace and Democracy Party. And if they do give the Kurds more rights, then in return the ruling party can get the Kurdish support. So there are a lot of politics at play, regional issues at play, but for most people here, starting a new era of peace, but at the same time retaining or regaining their rights, they would definitely welcome that.
A simple solution, but a complicated process, Zena. Zena, stand by for me. I believe we have some translation now. We should be able to listen to what is being said. Let's check in.
29 Mart 2013 tarihi itibariyle
stop being influential. The arms should stop expressing our case. From now on, millions should witness what I say. Those millions who respond to this call, witness to what I am saying. A new era is starting. This is the political struggle era. And I say, our armed divisions, we now have arrived at a stage where our armed divisions should be pulled away, and should go beyond the borders of Turkey.